I don't think many people would deny that the legacy media has had a real hard time trying to figure out how to treat somebody like Trump and the MAGA movement. And I also think that many people wouldn't deny that the MAGA movement is currently living in a complete separate reality. They do not share the same facts that you and I live with here on Earth. And it is becoming a huge, huge issue among all parts of our society. And I think we have to fight back against this, because if we do not share the same set of facts, how are we supposed to discuss the actual issues that truly matter? So if you want to fight back against this and you appreciate the work I do here, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. But with all that being said, I want to take a look at this very fascinating conversation. It's between Jim Acosta and Tim Burchett. And it really shows you what the media should be doing as far as how to treat the MAGA movement. And it also shows you how Tim Burchett lives in an echo chamber over on Fox News in conservative circles. You can tell that his reality has been warped by the MAGA propaganda. And it is overwhelming in this interview. He is basically unwilling to answer the actual question that is being asked, and instead diverts attention away from these questions or topics by rattling off a whole bunch of conspiracies that the MAGA movement currently bases their worldview on. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first question. They're talking about the January 6th pardons. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Donald Trump issued a nearly blanket pardon for 1,500 people who were involved in the attack on the Capitol that day. And the question is pretty simple. Was that the right thing to do? Is that the right signal to be sending when you've got a president of the United States saying that those of you who engage in violence for me can get let out of jail? I mean, it's a pretty simple question. Should really be a simple answer, but let's see how Tim Burchett handles this.
I'm not so much worried about material, Congressman, as I am about the president releasing violent offenders who attacked the Capitol, where you're standing right now on January 6th, people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy. I spoke with Officer Harry Dunn at the top of the program. I spoke with the ex-wife of Stuart Rhodes, Tasha Adams. They are both worried about their safety. Do you defend what Donald Trump did, releasing these people from prison, pardoning them, commuting their sentences? Yes or no?
I was the last person to leave the Capitol grounds, the floor of the Capitol, last member of Congress on January 6th when all this went down. I was offended as anybody. If they crossed those barriers, they were breaking the law. But you got to realize, too, they are charged under federal law. Many of them never even saw their day in court.
Okay, so he's willing to say that if they crossed the line, then they were trespassing. But the question was about the violent attackers of that day. He's unwilling to say that, hey, maybe that was the wrong thing for President Trump to do. Maybe because it's showing loyalty, maybe because he doesn't want to answer for other reasons, I don't know. But then he goes on to say that many of these people never saw their day in court. This is just not true. The court process has been playing out for all of these individuals who were charged that day. Whether that means they have been through the whole process and have already been convicted and sentenced to jail, which many of them have been, or if there has been delays for any particular reason and some people have not been sentenced yet. All of these people are going through the process the way the process is supposed to work out. So Jim Acosta asks him again. Yes or no answer, please.
Congressman, I asked you a yes or no question. Do you agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people and releasing them from jail?
If they were truly violent, no. But do I know that they were? I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that? We're showing the footage on the air right now. Congressman, you were there that day. There are offenders on January 6th who violently beat police officers. There are offenders who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. That is the truth.
this is a political world, Jim, and I don't remember you all on CNN condemning Joe Biden for commuting the sentences of murderers and child molesters, which he did. And you all
Congressman,
refused,
I'm not asking you about that. Congressman,
well,
we talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
You never do, Jim.
Congressman, we did talk about it. We talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
Oh, Jim, you did not. You all read your report from the Democrat National Committee, as you always do, and you attack Americans.
False.
So you see what he did there? Jim Acosta is doing the right thing. He is pressing him on this question because it should be a relatively simple question to answer. This is what the media should be doing with these MAGA lunatics, in my opinion. But do you see what Tim Burchett is doing here? He's just starting to throw stones at Jim Acosta and CNN for being part of the DNC. This is another conspiracy that somehow CNN and MSNBC, they're part of the lamestream media and they're in cahoots with the Democrat. It's all conspiracy. And he is using it to divert attention away from him not being able to answer the very simple question about violent January 6thers who Donald Trump just pardoned. It should be simple. Jim Acosta goes on to say, is it right that these people were let out of jail?
Are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what isn't right.
You're a congressman. You're a member of Congress. You're an elected official. Take a stand.
They were not given due process. I told you if they crossed the line, they were trespassers. Should they rot in jail for the rest of their lives in a federal penitentiary and never be charged?
Beating police officer, tasing police officers, seditious conspiracy.
Again, the question is simple. For the violent ones, should they have been released from jail? And instead of answering the question, he is again reverting to this weird thing about how the January 6thers weren't given their due process. And, well, I agree that if they crossed the line, then they were trespassing. But should they be held in jail for the rest of their life? Jim Acosta is asking about the violent ones. There were people that day that were convicted of seditious conspiracy. They were plotting to overturn the American government. Those are the people that Jim Acosta is asking about. And Tim Burchett not being willing to answer should tell you something. This is not okay. This is a sitting member of Congress, and he's unwilling and unable to answer these basic questions. And I think Tim Burchett does come on CNN quite often-ish, but you can really tell here that he is living in that right-wing conspiracy bubble, and he's not used to having to defend these indefensible positions. Like, you just had a president pardon the violent extremists on January 6th, and you can't answer the simple question about whether that was the right thing to do? That is just baffling to me. So Jim Acosta goes on to press him a little bit harder. Well, what happened to backing the blue? You guys said that you support police.
What happened to back the blue? What happened to backing police officers? Your party has said time and again, we back the blue. It sounds like you let down the blue. You're betraying the blue.
Jim, why don't you just give an editorial and not let me come on? Look, what happened in the last 4 years with police? What happened with all the riots that took place all across the country? Police officers were murdered. Courthouses were burned. Over 22 police cars were burned. Yet no one went to jail for that. Where's your crocodile tears for that? No,
Congressman,
you're not addressing the
facts. You're engaging in a game of whataboutism. People were obviously prosecuted after those riots.
Every day, all you've done is
what we're doing at CNN. We didn't storm the Capitol. These people did, and President Trump let them out of jail. Why not just say, you were wrong, Mr. President? Say it. Why can't you say it?
Jim, as I said, individually, I don't know the case, but on several he did not release from jail. Why are you not putting the story out on that and saying it's a blanket? Show me the tapes of these individuals beating police officers.
We're showing it right now.
Show me the tapes of these people being violent towards while it's literally playing on the screen. He is playing dumb because he doesn't want to answer the question. He's also reverting to personal attacks, saying that, well, CNN didn't cover this or didn't cover that, and why didn't you do it this way or that way? And then also, he's talking about the conspiracy about how all of the Black Lives Matter protesters or rioters were never charged, nothing ever happened to them. That is all just a lie. This is what the MAGA worldview is. It's all based on a web of lies. And anytime Tim Burchett is pressured to answer a question that should require a relatively simple answer, he throws out another conspiracy. This is wild. And I think Jim Acosta is doing the right thing here, trying to hold his feet to the fire. Sometimes, well, not even sometimes, it may look right now that the truth has a liberal bias, but that's because the right-wing media ecosystem has spent at least the past decade building a new reality that is based on untruths. That is why the truth might seem like it has a liberal bias. So when Jim Acosta is pointing out these fact patterns or asking questions based on the fact patterns, it might seem like it is a liberal biased question, but that is just not true. We have gone so far over here as far as the misinformation and disinformation that the truth looks tainted. And that is why this is a problem. Because anytime we have reasonable people asking reasonable questions, all of these MAGA adherents, they cry foul. Oh, you guys are attacking me, you liberal pieces of... bleh. And that is a huge, huge problem. So Jim Acosta asks him again, well, if they break the law, or what if they go to break the law after they were pardoned? Again, pretty reasonable question.
If any of these people who were released from prison, if any of them commit crimes in the future, should Donald Trump take personal responsibility for that?
No more than Joe Biden should take personal responsibility for the 14 million people, for Laken Riley losing her life because he didn't have enough guts to enforce the law.
I'm not talking about Joe Biden.
Americans.
If Joe Biden pardons people and they reoffend, he's obviously responsible for that.
Again, he's trying to divert attention away from the question that was asked. Is Trump responsible for any violence that is committed by these people after Trump gave them a pardon? Jim Acosta is willing to say, well, if Joe Biden pardoned somebody and they go to commit violence, Joe Biden should be on the hook for that. Sure, whatever. But Tim here cannot answer the question. And instead, he goes to another conspiracy. Oh, well, we've got these open borders and 14 million people came in and that's why Laken Riley... It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. And I think this one last clip here really sums up the whole idea of the MAGA worldview, or why they act this way on these legacy media platforms. But just check out how Jim Acosta calls out Tim Burchett here for not being on Fox News right now.
This is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
This is CNN. This is the news. We are asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim. Look, I left the White House during a riot. My life was threatened. My life has been threatened within the last few weeks, yet there's no coverage of that. And you all continue this narrative attacking Trump. You just can't stand the fact that he won and that America spoke.
Congressman,
and that,
no,
and that your view is very diminished.
That's not the case at all.
And your view is very diminished.
Again, just resorting to personal attacks. Oh, well, nobody's watching you. More people watch this or that. We're the victims. You guys are just attacking Trump. No, man. This is a real news organization. They pride themselves on trying to get the facts right. They asked you onto their show to provide feedback on a current political issue, and you are trying to spin up this web of lies like you were over at Fox News. Over on Fox News, you're allowed to get away with that. And that's why this alternate reality bubble exists in the first place. Fox has no fidelity to the truth, and they allow people like Tim Burchett to go on their programs and spin up a whole bunch of lies and just stick another piece into the conspiracy web. And that is why we are experiencing such a polarization in this country today. We are on complete separate media diets. And if you are in MAGA circles, and if you are listening to right-wing media, the version of the truth that you have bought into does not currently exist here on Earth with the rest of us. So I thought this was a very fascinating conversation. Props to Jim Acosta for holding Burchett's feet to the fire here. I think this is how every interview should go with a MAGA lunatic. These people's feet need to be held to the fire. And even if the truth appears like it has a liberal bias, these are the right questions to be asking. We cannot let the right-wing media continue to get away with tainting the truth all throughout this country. It is wreaking havoc on the country as a whole. It's a devastating problem, and we have to fight back against it. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. If you think that this has become a problem and this right-wing media ecosystem has created this alternate reality bubble and you appreciate the work I do here in fighting back against it, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to build something here on the left that can push back against the piles of crap over in the right-wing media ecosystem. So I really would appreciate if you subscribe. If you want to see how Donald Trump is sanctioning political violence as one of his very first moves in office, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.